Welcome back to the Business of Aesthetics podcast. I'm Adeesha, your host, and I'm excited about today's episode. If you're a clinic owner or practitioner, you know that feeling of being on the cutting edge. But what happens when the edge starts to feel crowded? You've mastered biostimulators, you're getting great results, but you're starting to wonder, what's next? It's that moment when you realize that what you got here won't get you there. And it leaves you searching for a way to stand out without chasing every new trend. To guide us through this, we are truly honored to be joined by a pioneer who is already defining what's next. Dr. Shino Bay Aguilera. Dr. Shino is a world-renowned dual board certified cosmetic dermatologist and the #1 provider of Sculptra aesthetics in the US. Today, we are diving into our topic, breaking the regenerative plateau, how clinics can differentiate, diversify, and scale beyond biostimulators in 2026. We'll explore the advanced protocols and strategic business decisions that turn hesitation into innovation without compromising the world-class results your patients expect. And before we jump in, a special thank you to our sponsor for this episode, Equa Marketing. To help you build that roadmap for growth, they are offering a complimentary high-value patient growth plan session. That's a one-on-one dedicated 60-minute strategy call to build a tangible 12-month roadmap for attracting the high-value patients you want. If that's a priority for your practice, you can find all the details at www.businessofesthetics.org/MSM. The form to secure your spot is brief and takes about 90 seconds to fill up. With that being said, Dr. Shino Bay, it's truly an honor to have you on the show. Shall we jump in?
Sure, thank you. I'm excited about this. I can't wait to hear your questions.
Okay, superb. Dr. Bay, you're recognized globally as a pioneer, especially with your work on Sculptra and bioregenerative techniques. Your whole philosophy seems to be about moving beyond the temporary fixes to create natural, long-lasting results. So, looking ahead to 2026, what innovative treatments or services do you see as the next big opportunities to move beyond our current biostimulators?
Well, we are now entering a very interesting space in the aesthetic market. We are actually entering in a phase where bioregenerative medicines evolved beyond mere collagen stimulation or fat stimulation into cellular longevity and orchestration. The next wave isn't about adding more biostimulators. It is about activating the body's own cellular intelligence, like what we see with our pericytes and fibroblasts through orthomolecular signaling, like growth factors like PDGF, polyrevitalizing micronutrients, and metabolic support that improve tissue structure and function. So basically what I'm saying is that we want to get younger. We just don't want to just appear younger for a finite period of time. And that's what we were doing in the past with injectable fillers. Now biocollagen stimulators became popular because we saw a need for it and we understand them well. And we know that we're capable to regenerate tissue with them. But we gotta think past biostimulation. We need to think about cellular longevity because cellular health and beauty equals to the same thing.
Mhm. Okay, so now you mentioned polyrevitalizing micronutrients. For a clinic owner listening, what's the difference between that and the PRP treatments many are familiar with today?
Well, so very, very simple. PRP is, you get your blood, you draw, and You wish and you hope that you had a good night's sleep that day before you got your PRP. Your age matter. Your habits matter. Do you have a good diet? You have high cholesterol. It all depends. But what we try to extract out of PRP are all these wonderful growth factors that are autologous. And they're great and they're important, but they're very different from polyrevitalizing micronutrients. Polyrevitalizing micronutrients come from orthomolecular science, which was coined in 1968 by Linus Pauling, a two-time Nobel Prize winner. Back in the day, the premises of Dr. Pauling was that within food there were nutritional factors like vitamins, minerals, cofactors, coenzymes that were essential for the body to thrive. That food is medicine, that what we eat can kill us or can make us thrive. But back in the day, people, due to academic arrogance, because they were not allowed peer review papers about the
Mhm.
subject, and he believed in supplementation because he understood that as we get older, our gut cells also get older. So you could be eating the same, but you are not assimilating the same because your cells on the gut are older. And he believed that we needed to supplement. Now, there were not too many peer reviewed papers, so a lot of colleagues of the era thought that this was hocus pocus. But now I don't have to convince anybody that yes, food is medicine and what we eat matters. So polyrevitalizing macronutrients are things like NCPR by Toscani Medical, NCTF by FieldMed. Uh, Other companies that have polyrevitalizing macronutrients will be Promo Italia. Now, I wrote a paper with a wonderful orchestration of colleagues of mine, like Viviana Perico from Colombia. She was the one with the idea of mixing NCTF with Radiesse, calcium hydroxide appetite. I couldn't do the study here in the United States because we didn't have any polyfertilized macronutrients at a time, like NCTF or NCPR by Toscani. So my friend Elena Teos in Greece did the study. And what we did was, when we missed calcium hydroxide appetite with NCTF, we got amplification of the results. And we were so excited because not only we got augmentation in volume, we got skin retraction, but we got a total rejuvenation of the structure and function of the dermis of the patients that were treated with it. And keep in mind that was only one syringe of Radius with 1.5 cc of the NCTF, a one-to-one, and we got results that were incredible. And it changed completely the landscape of the aesthetic market because after we published the Alessio Radelli mixed PLLA, Sculptra, with NCTF, got the same results. Fariofania, which is the main scientist of FieldMed, she did her own independent studies where she was able to in vitro show what all fibroblasts look like. She used the NCTF for about 6 weeks and she was able to measure in that glass box apparatus the strength of the fibroblasts. Not only phenotypically, the fibroblasts look young again, but they perform young and with a lot of strength. So what Linus Pauling in 1968 was trying to teach us is something that we need to adopt now. And you don't need to be a rocket scientist to understand this. Imagine that our planet Earth is a cell of a galaxy, and you yourself are a galaxy with 50 trillion cells in your body. And those cells on your body have your genome and they have the same requirements as you and I. They need nutrition, they need protection, and they need hydration in order to thrive. And what we were able to publish in this paper, and with the help of Ferio Fania and Elena Teos and Viviana Perico, Alec McCarthy, we were able to show that if you give the nutrition at a local level where the fibroblasts exist, it works because you could be eating or you could take supplementation, but if your gut cells are old, you are not gonna get it. So local nutrition matters for your fibroblasts to thrive. So this is the future. That's why a lot of us are now thinking consciously at what we do to our cells. Because as human, we're very demanding. We want everything. Gimme, 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 gimme. But we are takers, we are not givers. So what we notice is that when we give the nutrition, the protection, and the hydration to our cells via polyrevitalizing micronutrients, our cells will amplify the results. They will be grateful because they're living conscious entities.
Absolutely. And Dr. Shino, is there recent studies or science that acknowledges the fact the gut, or rather revitalizing the gut itself, how that can transform one's aesthetic?
No, I mean, gut health is very important. If your gut is not healthy, it affects everything else in the body because we depend on the health of gut cells for so many different physiological processes in the human body. But unfortunately, we just finally it's time to accept this knowledge and implement it. That's why I don't go to a regular doctor anymore. I go to a functional doctor because as a doctor, and I've been three different type of doctor, maybe four. I did family practice, then I did hospice, then I did general dermatology, and now I'm doing aesthetic dermatology. And traditional teaching in medicine teaches post-care, no pre-care. None of us took a class about nutrition or what to tell our patients or supplementation. We only give pills to treat a symptoms or a disease. Well, we can do better than that. We need to understand that longevity, beauty, and health starts at a cellular level. And none of us think about ourselves until we get the diagnosis that we have a cancer or we have a disease. But if we think about ourselves as citizens of our body, that they are birth, they mature, they go to work, they get old, and they die just the way you and I. If we have that correlation, we'll be kinder to ourselves. And they, in return, will be kind to us too, because they do it time after time again.
Wow. I mean, that's a beautiful philosophy. And yeah, food can either be medicine or poison. It depends on how you use it. I think bringing this back up again is really great for the practice owners to keep in mind moving forward. And now, with so many clinics, doctor, entering the regenerative space, it's getting crowded. You've built an incredible world-renowned brand in Fort Lauderdale. How can a practice today truly stand out and build that unique value proposition when everyone is offering similar technologies?
Well, you cannot stand out by just following trends. And this is, with social media, you could see that everybody is just up to just follow trends. You cannot stand out by doing that anymore. You stand out by educating and elevating your patient's understanding that the future of aesthetic medicine is functional as well, where beauty and longevity merge under the same biological principles. And clinics that integrate orthomolecular diagnostic, mitochondrial optimization, hormonal balance, and regenerative injectables into a unified evidence-based system will lead the field. Patients are no longer impressed by what you inject. They are transformed and impressed by how you explain the why behind the protocols and the how you treat their bodies as an ecosystem, not a canvas, which is what we did with fillers. Oh, your face is a canvas. No, the body is an ecosystem, and we need to care about ourselves because beauty, youth, longevity depends on cellular health.
Okay. Now you talk about making patients younger instead of faking younger, right?
Mhm.
And developing that core philosophy, like, is that the key to differentiation even more than the technology itself?
Yeah, definitely. Because, I mean, patients are getting savvy now with AI, intelligent with ChatGPT. They're well versed and they can find everything. So they're understanding that, and just by looking at the outcomes, right? Facelift of today's are so much better than the facelift in the 1950. That is the natural evolution of aesthetics. A lot of companies, I mean, they they have noticed that there's a decline on injectable fillers, and there's an agenda to trying to get them back, right? Because there's money to make with it. I use fillers. They're my bread and butter, but they're not anti-aging. Fillers, as it stand now, are for beautification. You can make beautiful lips with it. Enhancements. You don't have a strong chin, I can enhance your chin. And structural support. Like I can do all my bioregenerative technique and I can bring fat back and preserve the bone and make collagen on the skin. But there are some people that need structural support. I will use a filler. But fillers are not anti-aging. And most people don't want to just appear young. They want to stay young and feel young because it is possible. And the year 2025, we already know how to make every single old cell in the human body young again. We are not using it yet because we have to make sure that it's ethically done and that it's safe. But that we know how to do this? Yes. I sit in two different advisory boards of two companies competing for this technology, complete different technologies, same end results, that we can make every old cell young again. The future is very promising, and people need to be aware of that.
Wow. Thank you for that, Dr. Shino. That's really a great take on philosophy and how you can use that to differentiate yourself in this competitive regenerative space, right?
No, it's so
Um,
exciting because the most exciting frontier on all of this is the synergy between orthomolecular science and the regenerative biotechnology that we have now. Combining targeted molecular nutrition, biomimetic peptides, exosome-derived vesicles, and parasite activation protocols, this will allow us all to move from rejuvenation to true biorestoration. And that's the important key. True biorestoration instead of just rejuvenation. I don't want to be rejuvenated just by the way I look in the outside. I want to completely biorestore any tissue that is failing me because the passing of time.
okay. That's a very wonderful clarification you made on the difference between biorestoration and rejuvenation. Perhaps the practice owners listening to it can take a look at their own mirror and decide which way they want to go with regards to differentiating themselves in this space. Um, Doctor, so many clinic owners want to diversify their services. From your experience running your own successful institute, what are some smart ways clinics can add regenerative services without overextending their resources or confusing their brand identity?
Well, diversity through depth, not volume. So you don't need to like add endless devices and trendy treatments. Focus on synergistic modalities that share a biological purpose. For instance, the paper that I published in 2023, or actually that we published with my colleagues in September 2023, mixing if in your country, if you're in country, you're allowed to do this because not every country is allowed to do this. Mixing NCTF by FieldMed or NCPR by Toscani Med, which is the polyrevitalizing micronutrients, with PLLA or calcium hydroxyl appetite radius 1 to 1 will amplify the results. Now, if you cannot mix this product, you still can microneedle the polyrevitalizing micronutrients, but you will use a little bit more of it, and it won't be as efficacious when you mix 1 to 1. So let me tell you something. The return of investment when you do this stay within the practice instead of big pharma. Because one syringe of Radiesse doesn't cost that much for us. And if you buy a box of NCPR by Toscani, that costs $300 and something, and have 25 ml, and I only need 1.5 for that. I can tell you my practice because I just asked for you guys because I saw the revenues. So we bought NCPR by Toscani. It cost us for the year $3,739. The profit with no tax added was $110,347. Tell me which company is doing that. And you're doing something that nobody else doing. And you're doing something ethically and perfect for your aging fibroblasts. You are giving the nutrition that this fibroblast needs at a local level in order to become vigorous and perform. So one box that I paid 300 and something with this particular technique that we publish generates me 10 to 16K, 10 to $16,000. So it is about being smart and think about the cellular level because you want to amplify the results that you were getting before with new technology that is proven and studied now to be real. That if you give your aging fibroblasts a reason to become more vigorous, they will do it. We just need to wait. I think at the end of the year, there's going to be so many papers written by my dear friend Ferio Fania and myself, and so many other papers coming that talks about the 15 hallmark of aging and how can we help aging fibroblasts thrive.
Sorry, can you please repeat that last bit again? The fit, the name of the paper?
Oh no, there's gonna be a lot of papers. Like the my friend Ferio Fania,
Yes.
she's the director, scientific director of FieldMed. She has so many great articles to be
Right.
published, so much that she has studied that everything that I'm saying is gonna make more sense when people get hold of this paper, right? Because
Uh,
everything that I'm saying right now sounds very exciting. I'm doing my
yes.
best to simplify so everybody can
Yes.
understand, but I'm pretty sure that some people this may go over their head. But let's make it
Exactly.
simple, you guys. Every single human cell in your body has the same requirements as you and I. They need the nutrition, they need the protection, and they need the hydration. What do we do to them? We want them to make collagen elastic fiber, but how do we do that? We do it by using controlled injuries. It's savage. We
Mhm.
electrocute them with radio frequency. We stab them with microneedle. We burn them with chemicals. We burn them with energy devices without ever thinking one time if those fibroblasts that are all are starved. Do they need some minerals? Do they need some vitamins in order to perform? Now we're thinking like that. And we have the scientific proof to back this. And it's so unfortunate that it took so many years in order for us to accept this, because this was explained in 1968 by Linus Pauling.
Right. And Dr. Shino Bay, thank you very much for being transparent with the numbers too. I mean, for our practice owners who are in the considering stage and wondering if this is just all, as you mentioned before, hocus pocus, or is it real uh, business development, right? And there is evidence of both sides where it's being real science as well as a real business development opportunity. Now, what is the first step to mastering like one regenerative technique like PRP before even thinking about adding something more complex, as you mentioned?
Well,
Is
I mean,
that the better way to go for clinics? if they
Me,
want to
me,
add in?
the thing with PRP is great, but unfortunately, it's getting obsolete. I hate to say, okay, because there's so many other things. Like we have predator-derived growth factors, which is what we hope to get from the PRP, which is 3,000 more potent than PRP, right? But again, this is not available in every country. So you don't have, then you need to use PRP, PRF, which I find PRF being superior than PRP in my own personal opinion. But all of these are great. So you can try to give a try and mix your PLLA or mix your calcium hydroxyl appetite radius with your PRP one to one and see the type of result that you're gonna get. After we published our papers with NCTF and calcium hydroxyl appetite, there was a paper published by some colleagues of mine where they used liquid fat and they mixed calcium hydroxyl appetite with the liquid fat. And what did they get? Exactly what we got. Amplifications of results because that liquid fat has such a nutritional value and stem cells. So they were able to replicate what we got with NCTF, and it shows that nutrition is important, that our cells are conscious entities that have the same requirement as any human being. And we need to give that to them in order to let them perform better and extend the longevity. One thing that's coming that is amazing, and it's probably at the on this year, is a product by a company called Rapologics. And this product inhibits mTOR1, but it doesn't inhibit mTOR2. And what it does is that allows for aging cells to not to be on overdrive all the time. Let's take a step back that makes sense. People that use Retin-A have beautiful skin to a certain point. There comes a point that nothing is working. Why? Because you still are making those old fibroblasts to they're in hyperdrive. They're working so hard for us because we force them. And what happens when you push them and push them and push them without giving a refractory period or giving nutrition, they go immediately to become zombie cells, senescent cells. So by a lot of the techniques that we use that give us these short-term gains, we push them into senescent cells. And the more accumulation of senescent cells we have, there's going to be a point that nothing works. And I see in my practice, nothing is working because we never stop to think on cellular longevity and cellular health. But we are now. And this is where we're going to. So for business owners, the sooner you educate yourself about this, I mean, we're using in the United States, we're using so many peptides now. Right now, I'm using a peptide BPC 157 with thymosin 4. We call that Wolverine. Why? Because I exercise and I tear my meniscus all the time, my ligaments. I get healed within days with it. Right now, my body at 57 years old is exactly as what I look like on my 20s, which I was doing keto diet, paleo diet, working out twice a day, starving myself, intermittent fasting, yet my body continued to look older. I couldn't see my abs. I just been doing this tesamorelin peptide, zero side effects, and within 2 months, everybody just noticing my body. I feel I look younger. My body looks younger. We heading that way. We want to stay young. I don't just want to appear young while the rest of my body is falling apart. You know, this is the
Right.
future.
Absolutely. I feel it. I feel it when you're talking about it. I mean, we are now at a level we are even thinking about slowing down at a cellular level, right? Instead of always considering that addition is better. We're looking back to kind of slow things down. And I think that's a wonderful new philosophy that's coming into aesthetics and taken seriously. I mean, this is, as you mentioned, science that has been around for ages, but hasn't been taken seriously because there weren't peer-reviewed papers or whatnot. So Fantastic. Thank you very much for sharing that, Dr. Shino. And now, when you're teaching your master classes or speaking
Mhm.
internationally, you're talking to clinic owners who want to scale. When a clinic is ready to go big with regenerative services, what are the biggest obstacles, financial, operational, or even regulatory, that you warn them that they need to be prepared for?
Well, all three. So let's talk financially. And there's pros and cons, but let's talk financially. Regenerative products, some of them and some biological often have a higher entry cost, right? And shorter shelf life. So requiring smart inventory management and patient education to maintain consistent volume is important for some of these biologicals or regenerative products. That said, I just gave you an amazing pearl. Use polyrevitalizing micronutrients, you guys. Invest on Toscani, you know, polyrevitalizing micronutrients, or FieldMed, NCTF, or any other company that have those. Think about polynucleotides. Bring polynucleotides into your practice because the return of investment is huge. Let me give you an example. Let's say that in your country you cannot inject any of these products and you are going to need to microneedling. There's some of these products that I mentioned in our clinic, we cannot inject. We can inject PRP, we can inject PRF. But let's say I'm using Toscani and CPR and polynucleotides. We cannot inject it. But in my practice, we buy a box of 300 and something. I have 25 ml. I have Lumicen, which is polynucleotides. I have 40 mLs and I pay 300 and something. In our practice, every 1 ml, every 1 ml of each product that I use to create a customized cocktail for the problem that the patient presents, we charge $250 per 1 ml from a box that cost me 300 and something. So we tell the patient, this is the technique with PLLA, and this is what Dr. Chino is doing now to protect your cells and make them perform better. This is how much it will cost with amplification. The average is about $575 extra. When people spending that kind of money and you tell them this is the old way, this is with amplification and educating the patient what does the amplification means for cellular health, to prevent cellular exhaustations, to make the cell young and more vigorous. 90% of the time, what do you think the patient is going to choose? Give me the amplification. I don't want the old version. I already know the old version, especially you existing patients. I want the amplification. Because when they're spending that kind of money, $575 extra to the thing is nothing for them. Now, I am in an affluent area, but even if you were to charge $50 extra per 1 ml of product and you make a cocktail of four things, accordingly to your knowledge, according to the problem that the patient have. Does the patient need nutrition? Everything needs to have nutrition. So I use NCPR. Does the patient need DNA repair? Yes, we all do it. You 50 plus. Let me add the polynucleotides. Does the patient have melasma or brown spot? Let me add a product for that. And then I might macroneedle that. That takes me 5 minutes. So financially, there are products in the regenerative space that are a little bit expensive. So those products try not to, if you're gonna use it, understand them really well, but make sure that you maintain an inventory. But the other products that I'm talking about from Filme, from Toscani, these products are so inexpensive and are part of the armamentarium of orthomolecular medicine. And it has a huge return on investment. So that's the financial part. Operationally, training is everything, not just for providers, but for the front desk, the coordinators, the consultant, who must understand the value of biologics and to be able to communicate them ethically and effectively to your patients. So that is the way you need to do that. So you need to invest on education. Everybody from the front desk, when somebody called to make an appointment, should be well versed of all these bioregenerative techniques that you bring into the practice. Your cosmetic consultant, the nurses, everybody should understand the value of it and what we do it. And finally, regulatory frameworks are still evolving. So compliance and transparency are essential. Always differentiate between FDA cleared devices, off label application of products, what can be injected, what cannot be injected, wellness positioning. So, clinics that scale responsibly, document outcomes, and partner with credible suppliers and scientific advisors will thrive, while others get lost in the marketing noise. Especially because I know that you can go in Alibaba and buy PDGF or buy uh, injectable fillers and PLLA and polynucleotides. You do not want to be that kind of provider that you are cutting corners in order to save money. Because at the end of the day, when we became doctors, we took an oath and we have to maintain it. So only make an alliance, especially when you know that we're working at a cellular level with companies that are ethical, that are going to back you up. Never order for places, especially again, we're working at a cellular level. We can do a lot of harm. So let's make sure that you partner with credible suppliers that have great scientific advisors.
Actually, Dr. Shino, a few questions back, you actually mentioned this part about new regenerative techniques coming up, and there's a lot of excitement in it as well. But there is sense of ethical barrier, right? Doing it in a ethical sense. Can you actually elaborate a little bit more on that? What is the ethical barrier that is stopping current regenerative techniques from coming out?
So the ethical barrier is that I tell you what's happening right now in the United States because we have a
Yes.
big battle with PDGs, platelet growth factor. Platelet growth factor, the one that exists to inject intraarticular intraoral, is allowed to be injected in the human body. Now there's another company without saying names that created a one that is exactly as the one that we can inject. The only problem that it is easier to come through the FDA as cosmetic. Toscani Med did it with NCPR, Field Med with NCTF, which in other countries they can be injected. They're also coming topically. And we're getting all these companies that are coming with products that are supposed to be injected, and they are injected outside the United States. But because it's easy and cheaper to come cosmetic and topically, then we cannot legally inject it, right? But they sell it and they say, well, in Europe, we can inject it. So the problem with that it is like wing and leave us exposed. Because basically, without saying it, they're telling us to do it. But it is our medical license that is in question. But we want to not fall behind the curve. We want the same results that I published in Greece, but I cannot do it here. So right now there's a big noise because the company that is in cosmetic with the PDGF, it says do not inject. But it is a great area because it's exactly the same product that can be injected. And depends what state you are. So it's a big controversy because some people are injecting it. I about to publish and I had to retract my paper until I get my IND IRB, which I thought we already were on the process to get it, and somebody dropped the ball. So until I get my IND IRB, I won't publish the paper. But we need progress. The problem is that my colleague of ours, a few of them, instead of doing this in a way that was to protect this space, they went public. And by going public, and I know they have good intentions because I know them very well. The intentions are good. But you also need to understand that you're exposing everybody else that did it, and you creating commotion to make patients do not trusting us, because we all look bad when we cannot agree. I mean, they look good, the people that wants to be the hero, but the conversation is not only one way. And although I appreciate what he's doing, or there's other people appreciate what they're doing, because if it forces the company to do the right thing. So I have no hard feelings to them. I love them. I think that there are better ways to do things to protect everyone within the industry, because it's community collaboration, not competition. And we wanna grow ethically and do the right thing. But I think the approach that they used wasn't the right approach. But the way from where I see it is pushing for companies to do the right thing. Because I wish these companies that have these polyrevitalizing micronutrients and growth factors will take the time and pay the money so we can use it. But all this will create pressure. I have a different style. Me, I have a different style to approach things. And the first thing is protect my colleagues and protect the patients, right? But it's different ways that we can do this. Not create this circus that was created in social media that left everybody dumbfounded, patients, providers, and create this animosity within colleagues, which it should never be like that. It should not be them versus us, because it's one community. And I'll protect it. I'll do anything to protect my colleagues, the patient, and the community. That's why I created this meeting called Genesis, to protect the peptides, to protect the exosome, to protect the growth factors, because we want to grow together. I mean, this been going on. Bioregenerative medicine started 300 BC with the Egyptian, 600 BC with India, with Dr. Chuchutra, with the frontal flap. This is nothing new. We just got lost for a long time, but I'll do anything to protect the bioreactor space. And we need to stick together. And we need to do things ethically. But we cannot use fear. We need to grow. We need progress.
Definitely need progress, as well as what I'm understanding is a lot more communication within the community itself would have helped the matter be a much more smoother in processing.
So the best advice that I can tell, for, because I don't know who is going to watch this in the world. So make sure that look at your regulations. And United States goes state by state. Some of us can inject PDGs, some people no. So look in your country, what are the regulations? Be transparent with your patients. Um, if you wanna do what I'm doing, I'm getting an IND IRB so I can create the research, so I can work and show the FDA that it is valuable, that it is important for us to have in our armamentarium. So there's many ways to do that. It's just like a lot of people don't want to spend the time, the money, or bother by it. Let other people do it. For me, if nobody else doing it, I'm gonna do it, or find a way to do it, or find somebody to do it. But protect your licenses. See what you can do. Can you inject it? Great. You can find my papers, to mix it. If you cannot inject it, then you're gonna microneedle it. Microneedle it. Find a way, because where there's a will, there's a way to do it, and you can find a way to do it, ethically, legally, and efficiently.
Thank you for that, Dr. Shino. And rounding things out over here, we really understand the need for communication. We really understand the need for protecting the practice, the space, as well as, protecting your own self, the license, but also making sure that you do follow your will, per se, follow your will and do and grow this whole industry. Now, let's look at the horizon, Doctor. You've written the book, Be Youthful, and you focus on helping people embrace every stage of life on their own terms. What trends or technologies should clinic owners be investing in now so that they can thrive and avoid stagnation in the next 3 to 5 years?
We just look around. Well, it is obvious, right? Yeah, and we cannot uh, uh, resist it. It's happening. It's happening. Data and biology will merge. That's a truth. That's a given. The winning practices will be those that integrate genomic insights, molecular diagnostics, and AI-assisted personalized protocols into patient care. Imagine assessing biological age, inflammatory load, mitochondrial efficiency, and then designing a regenerative program tailored to each patient that walk in your practice. Every patient has a molecular fingerprint, and you can tailor every treatment accordingly to what they need. This is not the future, guys. It is already unfolding. We see it everywhere. The clinics that prepare now, who embrace functional aesthetic medicine, which I coined that term. I coined the term functional aesthetic medicine by bridging bioregenerative medicine and orthomolecular science. These will be the ones that defining the standard of regenerative care by 2026 and beyond. So it is important to not to oppose change. Be flexible. Don't have a rigid mind. Rigid things break. You cannot fight the system and you cannot find evolution. And that's what I see with companies that are trying really hard because they still want to hold on to the injectable fillers as the holy grail of anti-aging. And I keep telling them, you guys, I use them, I love them, it's my bread and butter. But this is natural evolution. This is not a trend. It's not a trend, it's natural evolution. I mean, we're in the year 2025. We understand the aging process at a cellular level, and we can do things with the use of peptides, polynucleotides, polyrevitalizing micronutrients, growth factors, and adding AI as a tool to diagnose. We are entering exciting moments that there's going to be upon that being 80 years of age is middle age. It is exciting time we're living.
Absolutely. And if a clinic owner could only do one thing after listening to this podcast to prepare for the future, what would that one action be?
I think everybody, the take home message is that I want everybody to think that every single cell in their body is a citizen of that body. And they depend on your choices, how you sleep, how you eat, what you're thinking. Because stay useful is an earned privilege. And it has to do with an alignment of mind, body, and spirit. But understanding that your cells are conscious living entities that have the same requirements as you and I, and start to bring into your practice polyrevitalizing micronutrients, supplementation is the first step for cellular longevity because none of us will thrive if we don't have the adequate nutrition and the adequate hydration. We need to think that way. Everything else will solve itself. When we do energy devices, when we do PLLA, Sculptra, or Radiesse, we amplify the results by always thinking at a cellular level. I am going to add this nutritional component. There are nutritional components that you can supplement via mouth. They take longer. And again, if your gut cells are also old, they're not going to perform that great. So you can bring everything that that cell needs that's supposed to get from your food and supplements localized, and it will work just as good. Just give it a try. You won't be disappointed. We are doing it. We are thriving with these things here and in South America. It is important that we all go beyond appearances. We need to start with cellular longevity, cellular health.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, Dr. Shino Bay. I mean, that is the pinnacle of breaking the regenerative plateau, and that is to think beyond just beautification and think at a cellular level and at a growth level. So, Dr. Shinobe, thank you very much for your
Thank you.
insights on diversifying beyond biostimulators, offering a very clear roadmap for clinics looking to lead the future of this industry. And to our listeners, thank you always for tuning in and giving us the privilege of your time. We truly appreciate your continued support and love being able to bring you conversations that help you grow and navigate the evolving world of aesthetics. If you did enjoy this episode, please share it with your colleagues and take a moment to leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback helps us and other professionals discover the podcast and gain valuable industry insights. Finally, a quick reminder to take advantage of the complimentary high-value patient growth plan session from our sponsor, Echo Marketing. If attracting more high-value patients is a priority, secure your spot today at www.businessofesthetics.org/MSM. So, with that being said, until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep building the kind of business that truly sets the standard in aesthetic medicine. Thank you.